Hey guys, welcome to Spill the Beans. Today I'm sitting down with Whit McCarthy, who's one of the senior vice presidents at Civic Financial. And so he was like, I think, employee number one. His dad was a high-level entrepreneur, helped start the business, and then they scaled it, sold it to a local bank, I think a year or two ago, and now still running the business, and they do a lot of their own investing as well. So met with Whit. He's actually given a loan to me on a local property that I'm purchasing right now, and we're looking to do some more co-investing together as well. So a lot of good stuff coming from Whit. He gives it a very different perspective coming from the banking and the lending side, especially in today's crazy interest rate environment. So excited to sit down with him. Let's go spill the beans. Whit, what's up, bro?
Hey, man.
How you doing, man? Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah.
So we got connected about a year ago, right, through some mutual friends, and you got a lot of stuff. I mean, dude, we live 10 minutes away from each other, and you're doing some investing. You actually bought the office building that we're renting a space out of, and working with your firm on financing one of my properties.
Yep.
So, dude, just what I'd love to do is share your entrepreneurial journey. I want to talk a little bit about how you started as an entrepreneur. I know you're investing pretty heavily in a lot of your own stuff. I'd love to share Civic with everybody too, if
Yeah,
you're cool
absolutely.
with that. And just talk about on the personal side, right? You got the girl dad bracelet on right now. I got a girl on the way, or actually when this airs, probably already here.
Yeah.
And I just want to talk through, like, as we're growing our businesses, as we're having success as entrepreneurs, how do we make sure that our kids are good human beings, that they're thankful for what we have, and a lot of that stuff. I think that's a cool angle to take a look at. So
Love that.
Tell me about your story, dude.
Yeah, so grew up on the East Coast. I'm in Connecticut, so Northeast, and went to school in Maine.
I didn't realize. And then you went to California?
Then I was in California for 12 years.
Got it.
So went out to California right after I graduated from college, and jumped into some various industries, trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, and ultimately landed inside of a real estate group. And I always knew that I'd end up in real estate. My pops, who you've met, is a successful entrepreneur in the real estate world for a long time, and so it wasn't a matter of like if, it was just when. And I landed in the right place at the right time.
When did you graduate college?
2010.
Okay, so dude, you were going through college same time that a couple years after me. I was 03 to 07. But dude, just the run-up in high school and college of real estate, like everybody's talking about it, and that to me just resonated. I was like, holy shit, man, there's people in here who aren't that smart, making a ton of money in real estate.
Yep.
They're making money, I'm gonna get rich doing this. And that was like burned into my brain, so I knew I wanted to get into real estate, similar to you.
Yeah.
Was that something that like influenced you?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Well, your dad was already in the space too.
he was in the space, and so I'd seen him have success over the years, and then the crash happened, and I think it was healthy skepticism at first, right? Just trying to figure out, like, what does the world look like on the other side of this? And, so I jumped around some different industries, ultimately all within sales capacities, right? I was always immediately drawn to sales roles, right? Sales and business development, where I don't want anyone at the end of the day to tell me how much money I can make in a year. Right, I don't want I'm not a salary guy. Like, I'm in this to actually earn my money every single paycheck. So, always business development, sales roles, and ultimately led me to
What was your degree in?
history and business.
Yeah.
Double major. I mean,
Have you ever taken
liberal
a
arts school.
Have you ever taken a disc assessment?
I have. It's been a long time though.
Do you know where you were?
I don't. I
Probably
don't
high I.
remember. Yeah.
High ID. That's where I am too.
Yeah. We use something at Civic called predictive index, which is
Yeah.
very similar.
Very
and,
similar.
We use that heavily in our interview
Hiring
process, and making sure we have the right butts in the right seats. So,
Dude,
it's
so
fascinating.
integral. It's so like you can have the right person in your organization. If they're not in the right seat in your organization, dude, they're going to be a C player. You move them into the right seat, they're an A+ player. It's like, if people, they neglect that because it's a little bit of a process. That I remember me getting started. Whoever raised their hand was dumb enough to come and work for me too. They got a job right out of the gate. Come on.
Yeah.
Here's the seat that we need to fill.
Sure.
If you're willing to do this job, then you stay there.
Yeah.
But I didn't screen them. I didn't train them. I didn't measure their performance. And you want to build a real business, man, you got to realize people are assets, and you got to screen them. You got to train them. You got to make sure you get the right person in the right seat.
You have to invest in them. I mean, it's a real investment to bring someone on board. That's it's their livelihood. It's their life that you're essentially like a huge part of as their employer. So.
And they're influencing other people on the team and their livelihood, you know?
It's so important. And like, just to speak to the progression, like eventually landed in the real estate world and inside of a group called, at the time it was Civic Home Loans, conventional lender inside of a larger organization.
Got it.
Large organization, was very lucky to land there. It was a company called Wedgwood. Wedgwood is the largest fix and flip player in the United States. So they have fix
Lender?
and flip. No, actual operator.
Okay.
So they have fix and flip 70,000 properties.
Wow.
Over the course of 25 plus years, primarily California. But after the recession, they saw opportunities for buying NPLs with the group HMC assets, where my pops was. They expanded into more
Non-performing
nationwide
loans.
Non-performing loans. They expanded into more nationwide footprint, at least markets that they saw opportunity in. So they decided at that point in time they had in-house sales for the properties that they were selling on the backside of NPLs that would turn REO, properties that were bought out of foreclosure, flipped, and ultimately resold. Everything was in-house, closing, escrow, but they wanted to build in a lender. So let's capture the financing on the properties that we're selling as well. It's the one piece of the puzzle they didn't have control on. So I came on board as really just in a business development sales role, not a whole lot of mortgage experience, and came into an environment where I was able to learn from the ground up the lending side, but being inside of that environment, I was able to get so much exposure to just an investment mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
You're selling all strictly to investors, right?
At first, it was just straight up homeowner.
Ooh,
stuff.
yeah.
So that's what came out of like selling the mortgages on the back end of these flip transactions.
Got it. They were flipping to owner ocks.
Yeah, and that was where I started. We were in that business for like a year. Really tough to scale a conventional lending business, right? It's just so difficult. Margins are so razor thin. The government is your partner. There's so much difficulty in scaling a platform like that. And so we spun out of that pretty quickly. That company was sold to a larger organization as like a very captive deal flow, right? As just lead gen essentially. And then at that time, it was myself, my cousin, Jack Helfrich, and really just one or two other people. We were asked to start the hard money lending company, which turned into Civic Financial Services, what it is today. So it started with myself and a couple other people in just a conference room where we were asked to go out and start originating hard money loans for investors. And
What year is this?
this was 2014.
Okay.
2013, 2014. So this was really in the infancy of this new world of institutional, private lending. So we were very fortunate that we had a balance sheet to work off of. We had really, really strong financials, and in a startup environment, the one thing that you need the most of is capital, and we didn't have to fight for that, which was very, very fortunate for us. So we were asked to go start originating hard money loans, and Jack and I had to look up. We Googled what is a hard money loan and how do you do it? We didn't know, and so we had to develop all the systems and process and.
Oh, dude, that's a resourcefulness element, though, right? It's like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Hey, Tim, I get messages on stuff. I was like, dude, have you ever fucking Googled it, right? Like legitimately GTS, Google that shit.
Yeah.
And find the answer right there before you come and ask a stupid question, right? Because that ruins your credibility when you come to somebody who, has a certain level of sophistication and knowledge in a space where it's like, dude, do some sort of effort, right?
Do
something, get it going, and that way you can bring some higher level questions.
But I know you're a guy that loves education too, so do your own research, come with informed and thought through questions, and then
why is this the case versus that the case?
We want to help people out in their growth and journey, whether they're someone that's in our company, outside of our company, a competitor. I think there's plenty of business for everybody. So, the business has grown immensely over the last 9 years, right? So, been there since day one. We're 400 plus employees at this point. We're going to cross
mostly out in California,
nationwide. I mean, we've got 30 offices, 24 offices or something like that. A lot of them just small sales remote offices with a couple people.
How do you scale something like that, man? How do you open up the different offices? How do you get into 30 different markets?
Yeah.
How do you have 400 employees or what do you have, 500?
It's 400 and change.
Yeah, 400 and change. How do you get to that in a span of, that's 8 years?
So I can't take credit for the vast majority of it, right? We got to a point in 2017 where we had built up a track record, and we were producing. We were actually very interactive with the capital markets. So we were one of the first batch of lenders in the space that were really trading this paper with Wall Street and going through securitizations and having some sophistication in the model as opposed to the traditional hard money lender, which raises a fund, they deploy money out of the fund for preferred return to investors and whatnot, right? The typical model, but this was an institutional type approach. And so around 2017, after we had, got to a run rate of about 25 million a month, which was, nothing to, scoff at. We were doing well and making money. We were able to attract our now CEO, Bill Tester, right? And so Bill came from a conventional background. He was the president of Skyline, which purchased Civic Home Loans, the first iteration of our lending company. So we knew Bill, proven leader in the space, been doing it for 25 plus years. Had scaled the company Skyline from 40 people to 600 people, top 20 lenders in the country. And so we were able to get to the point where we were able to convince him to come on board. And
well, dude, the secret sauce sounds like, one, you had access to capital, right? That wasn't an issue. If you have access to capital, dude, that's obviously you need operations stuff, but more importantly, you knew what to invest that capital into, which was A-plus players.
Absolutely.
Right? And you brought on a team of some of the best in the entire country, in the world, in order to help scale that, dude.
Yeah.
And I think if you understand those two things, those two investments, it's game over.
It is. The leadership side was just so crucial for us. Bill was able to bring in, thought leaders and people within our industry that were able to actually move us in the right direction and take this to a scale that has not been achieved by anyone else. So we've also rolled out, in that process with Bill coming on board, programs it's called our Top Gun training program, which it is a homegrown sales training program. We bring in people fresh out of school, fresh from other industries, put them into a classroom for 6 to 8 weeks. They learn everything about
world-class sales,
real estate, mortgage lending, Civic, what it is we do, investment strategies, fix and flips, how to, appropriate review budgets and everything start to finish. And we've had such amazing success in that because we bring in people who are super motivated, super loyal, and just ultimately give a shit. And so, some of our best sales producers, year in and year out, are people that have come through that program. I think we've gone through 7 classes of that.
Yep.
Anywhere from 5 to 15 people in a class.
Dude, I think it's so cool because they see you investing in them, educating them, pouring into them, making them more valuable to the marketplace, where now there's a level of loyalty, like you talked about, and they want to go and deliver and put those skills to work. And most people just say, hey, here's my fucking problem, go, solve it.
Exactly.
Who's willing to come and work this? Okay, hey, I'll pay you a salary, go and fix this issue. Whereas you guys really understand it's an investment. Bring them in, train them, give them the tools, give them the resources, give them the knowledge, give them the insights, and then bring them to go and solve problems and scale the business. It's a very different than what a lot of smaller entrepreneurs do. And I think that's a key component of going from small business into big business.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, we'll cross the 9 billion threshold this year.
Of loans made?
Of loans, originated since our inception. This year alone will be $3 billion at the end of the year. I mean, this year has been insane, and I think, I've listened to some of the recent podcasts you put out, and I think right now this market, while difficult for some, is where a lot of people are going to actually capitalize on some opportunities.
For sure, man.
Right? I mean, it's. I think this last year, because we were acquired by a regional bank this last year in 2021, we've been able to go through this period of really high turmoil throughout the capital markets with a really solid capital base, which has allowed us to continue to lend uninterrupted without massive adjustments to programs or rates like others have. So it's just allowed us to really stay ahead of the pack.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And you guys are giving me a loan on a deal that I'm buying for locally here. And so that's pretty cool. And it's not just hard money loans. You have the 30-year product as well.
Yeah, I mean that's that shift, right, from the traditional hard money lending model towards kind of the batch of companies us and others are in today, which is truly an institutional approach to it. And with that institutional approach, you get access to more institutional products, right? And so that's 30-year product, a duration that a typical hard money lender, you just can't write that.
Yeah.
So
and dude, it's such a pain in the ass for somebody like me who's got all these assets, all this depreciation, money running all over the place, me funding different deals and operating capital over here, and $500,000 over here and $2 million over there, and big chunks of change coming in, big chunks of change going out.
Yeah.
We're I am an absolute nightmare financially.
Your tax returns, I'm sure, are this tall, and at the end of the day, your income is probably all out of whack because it's not. I mean, you're an entrepreneur.
The depreciation knocks everything out. Or I have these big chunks that come in. or recaptured depreciation or sales or launching a new business or investing in a new business. Like, dude, it's so. Most mortgage lenders won't even look at my tax returns because
which is
they're
so
like, dude,
insane.
this is too much work.
You're the most qualified person to lend to, which is like it's such a backwards environment.
It
Like,
is.
in our shop, like
it's
we
just
don't look at income.
But that's the thing. It's easier to just
Yeah.
go to you guys and say, hey, let me, and you guys have very, very competitive rates.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And so like I'd rather come to you and pay an extra point or whatever and say, hey, give me here's my bank statement.
Yep.
Here's my REO schedule. Here's what I own. Here's what my assets look like. Boom. And you guys, boom. Okay. Hey, good to go. Asset looks good.
Yeah.
Everything else checks out.
And for the rental, as long as the property stands by itself and
Right.
cash flows, right?
Right.
That's ultimately what we're looking at the most, right?
Yeah.
The sponsor and investor is critically important, right? Mostly their experience, but you know, we're not super credit driven. Yes, it will affect, you know, rates, will affect leverages, but at the end of the day, like we're in it for the really deep review of that property and ensure that it can stand by itself.
So how is that, you looking at all these other investors and banking all these people, all of a sudden, I can only assume you get the itch and you're like, dude, these guys are building a lot of wealth by buying these properties. How do I get into that game? And so like, how has that transition happened for you? I know you're still running Civic, but tell me about some of your personal investments and like things that you're doing on your side.
I mean,
as
it
an
quickly
investor.
turned into a wild obsession, right? Where
Yeah.
you can't drive by a multifamily property without trying to like understand, hey, how could I acquire that? How could I manage that? Like, what's the cash flow of that? What's that going to kick off? Like, it became an obsession pretty quickly.
Do you realize you asked all these questions, right? Versus other people saying, I can't do it, and their brain shuts off. You, by just asking questions that are thought-provoking, that lead down a path of other questions, that lead down a path of better answers, most people don't do that, dude. Most people are just like, I can't do that. Their brain shuts off, and they keep driving down the road. I think asking questions is a critical component to just having that resourcefulness that we were talking about, problem solving and figuring things out, and you know, dodging and weaving and working without inside and out the different markets. It doesn't matter if you can ask good questions. It's going to lead you down a path of better answers. You know, and so it's something that I've found. You say a couple times you're very good at that. So, anyways, I just want to acknowledge it. But,
I mean, it turned into me just wanting to figure out ways to build wealth, right? I mean, understanding like I have never been super interested myself in flipping properties. Like I have been in this game for the long haul, right? In building wealth over long periods of time. So my primary strategy has been buy and hold, and I started by buying some stuff in California where I was based for 12 years. Some stuff in like the greater Englewood market, which love the market. Like the cash flow from these assets is pretty phenomenal if you bought it at the right time.
I was going to say because you bought it when you did.
Yeah, and so got into some good deals pretty early on. Still have some units over there, but sold the majority and have 1031 into things in the Southeast, specifically Charleston.
So what do you look for in your investments right now?
So historically, it's really been small multifamily stuff, and with the goal of trying to level up.
Define small, because that's relative.
Anything, mostly 4 units and under, right? Okay. If I can find 3 and 4 unit, like a triplex or quad, that's my sweet spot right now.
What kind of areas?
I like the better areas. I really like probably, and to my fault, probably overspending on rehabs a little bit because I like to invest that on the front end and make sure that we can get really strong tenants in there.
Then it's predictable, man. You don't have, these things that pop up. I would rather, it's easier to fund it all on the front end anyways than try to pull it out of cash flow. You always run out of money or you have to raise more capital, and then it gets complicated because you have lenders in a primary position. You got to find second mortgage. You got to make sure they're okay. Dude, it's a pain in the ass. Just do it all on the front end.
Absolutely. So we spend a lot of time, and I say we, my wife and I, we've really gone down this road together. And companies, Crew Properties, we established a separate, a subsidiary, Crew Studio, which she manages all the rehab design and everything. She's fantastic at it. She comes from like a really project management background, so her ability to manage a budget is awesome. And
Are
her
you guys
eye is perfect?
Are you guys marketing for annual tenants, or are you guys doing Airbnb short-term rental stuff?
Combination of. Originally, it all started long-term, and I didn't really understand the short-term rental market. But my best friend from college started a short-term rental management company based out of Colorado. Former military guy that has just had a ton of success with building out his own short-term rental portfolio, and taking a page out of his book and helping him because I don't want to manage properties. I have no interest in managing myself. having him in supporting managing, we're turning a bunch of our units into short-term rentals right now.
Yeah.
Specifically in the North Charleston market,
Yeah.
which, they just rolled out this new process for getting these permitted, right? It was really a lawless land up until now. Starting January 1, they're going to have a very close eye on these. And I think I was actually the first person to actually get issued a permit in the city of North Charleston.
Really?
Yeah, short-term rental permits. So
Yeah,
we
it's
got one there, converting a couple more units into short-term. But I'm a big believer now. The cash flow speaks for itself.
It's
pretty
wild,
amazing.
Man. How have you seen management being more difficult, easier, same?
About the same. We've got a good long-term property manager as well, and we still pay him a little bit on a monthly basis for the units that are being run through short-term, because I like to have oversight from him on the overall property itself, while paying the short-term, or Max, my buddy from Easy B&B, the management on the day-to-day for the short-term rental.
Yep.
They just do a great job in getting this thing leased up. It's all about the maintenance and turning it over quickly, right?
Yeah.
Making sure it be cleaned and in good shape for that next tenant to show up.
Dude, it's like everything's just clean, safe, and functional. As long as it's clean, safe, and functional, dude, it eliminates 99% of the problems of landlording. If you maintain your property, and then you got to screen your tenants, right? Airbnb kind of screens them. It's self-policing in that if you screw up a property, you will never be able to rent on Airbnb ever again because you'll get a shitty rating, and then nobody will ever rent to you.
Yeah.
So it's like that's already taken care of through the platform. Now it's just, dude, keep your place clean, safe, and functional. Everything else falls into place.
Yeah, and we've had very few issues, tenant-wise with the short-term rental stuff. I think it's because we've got smaller units. Like we've got 2-bedroom units.
Yeah.
One that's 3 that's going to be coming
You're not
online
bringing,
shortly. You're not having big parties.
and parties. Yeah, exactly.
So we've got a nice tenant base for sure.
So what does it look like over the next 12 to 18 months? What do you see? And I assume you guys have statistics and analytics and stuff from what you've seen on the mortgage side. That then give you certain insights in order to then go and invest yourself into new opportunities based on this kind of shift in the marketplace. So, like, what are you seeing? What are some of those components? Which way is kind of the wind blowing over the next 18 months?
Yeah, I think right now it's a really interesting time as far as the capital markets go, right? I mean, there are lenders falling out of this industry like day after day right now.
Bro, if your business was in refi, you're knocking out of business,
Oh yeah, so like the conventional world, like Finance of America going out of business. We've had some like.
Are they really?
Oh yeah, they're out of business.
I didn't realize that.
Non-QM, like Sprout Mortgage and big group that was doing a significant amount of volume just went under. Another competitor, Athos, like they just closed up shop this week, and so it's really interesting to see.
Really?
Yeah, how
Dude, think
the
about
world
that.
is turning.
How can you be doing that much in business and have that bad of cash flow management? Where, dude, we're 6 months into this thing, dude, and companies going out.
I think they
It's
built up a
crazy to me,
balance sheet,
dude.
and their warehouse lines got overloaded, and they're sitting on all of these lenders rely on secondary markets for selling their loans or going through securitizations. Securitization market doesn't exist right now, right? Where they package up a bunch of loans, for those that don't know, securitizations, package up a bunch of loans into a portfolio and you sell a bond against it, right, to investors. So securitization market doesn't exist right now. Loan sales.
Because who buys that? At the end of the day, it's Fannie and Freddie, or
no?
or
I mean, it's
a private bond kind of
yeah,
thing?
private bond issued through banks that people invest in, and so it has shifted this market. It's pretty insane because the loan sale market has really pulled back, and the pricing of what you need to sell a loan at interest rate wise is so high that so many people have loans caught on their books that are so far below that they actually have to come out of pocket to sell that loan. Like they're selling it 90 cents on the dollar.
So if you don't have it on your own balance sheet, dude, you're in trouble.
If you're stuck with loans that are below market rate right now, that's why you're seeing people close up their doors.
And I don't know, are they didn't realize it, they didn't see it coming, or they just don't give a shit, where it's like, we'll just shut it down, we'll start a new mortgage company in 6 months, 12 months. Like, is there that type of gamesmanship that we see in The Big Short and stuff like that? Like, is that how that world works, where they just don't give a shit? Or are they just that clueless where they don't remember what happened, 12 years ago?
It's a really interesting question. These companies that we've been seeing going on in business recently, they're pretty well tenured. I think specifically on the conventional side, the refis are gone. The world of refis is gone. It's those that are able to retain purchase volumes are going to be able to stay alive.
That's the key, because anybody who wanted to refinanced in the past 24 months.
And they're at a 3% loan. No, they're not getting out of that.
Dude, they're not
getting out of that.
No,
so it's really interesting to see this market shift. And I think it's probably a combination of that they see an out, right, at this point in time. It's been a really crazy industry, and people have made a lot of money over the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, with this market, it's been pretty insane. So I think they saw an out and are taking it. I think we'll see a lot more. I think more are going to fall, for sure.
Dude, I think it's... I got my first REO property sent to my email yesterday that I've seen probably in 8 years, man.
I mean, everyone's rode this wave of appreciation up. Like, there's always an out. There's no REO.
Hey, bank owned,
Yeah.
needs it off the books by the end of the year, 48-unit apartment building. I think it was in St. Louis or something. And I'm seeing this, I was like, fucking here it comes, man.
Yep.
I remember that was all that we got back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It was like, you can step in. Which house you want? Which building you want? I want that one. I want that. Great. You can have it for 30 cents on the dollar. You know, like whatever you wanted. It didn't matter. If you could have access to capital, then that was the secret sauce. If you had access to money, you could go in and buy anything. And whether it was your own money, institutional money, private money, hard money, whatever, if you have those different arrows in your quiver, you're going to be able to be in a really good position, or creatively financed. Yeah. You're going to be in a really good position, I think, over the next 18 months.
Yeah, I love that. I was listening to your one with Nick the other day about how those over the next 24 months who were able to go through a creative financing, review and process and actually lock in deals with that are going to have so much success. I totally agree.
Dude,
yeah.
I mean, we're closing on 2 deals. Retail complexes. One was built 2 years ago. It's got like Starbucks and Domino's, and I think there's a Panera in there or something. I don't know. It's like all these national brands and this retail complex. $5 million. We got an 80% seller finance at 5% interest rate.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a couple of assumable loans, so it's like 4.7, 4.8 is our blended cost of capital. 80%, and I think it's on a 30-year AM at a 5-year balloon or 10-year balloon even. It's like, I don't know, how many of those can I buy of Class A properties in primo locations? It's in a college town, and I got one there, and it's up in Cleveland. I got another one that's in Florida, Panhandle of Florida, built in 05. Again, fully occupied, paying 7.5 cap or something like that, and seller finance, 80% at 5% interest rate.
Yeah,
and we're going to close on that. Dude, how many times can we do that?
No, I mean,
if sellers want their price, they have to be flexible. On terms. And so otherwise, if you want to sell it, and you want to be cashed out, then you got to be willing to take a discount on your price point. But I'm seeing it over in Isle of Palms right now. I'm seeing it in all the different markets. Just stuff's either sitting, or there's price drop after price drop after price drop, or we're like, hey, would you sell or finance? They're like, we really don't want to, but I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to get my price. So I'll consider it. Make me an offer. And so, I mean, that's what we're doing. So, what is your goal personally for the investment side over the next 18 months?
So, looking at some larger multifamily, right? Actually getting in true multifamily. Ideally, 10 to 20 some odd units, like smaller than the stuff that you guys are doing, and a little bit bigger than the onesie twosie type of investor. So,
and here's the thing: is I guess in California, people who see this in California, that's still a big deal, right? Because you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a door there. You're talking to somebody who's in the middle of Ohio, right? And you're like, well, that's not that big of a deal. In Charleston, in a good area, if you're buying 20 units, you're at probably 150 a door, I would think. So you're looking at least $3 million property, So it's some good stuff, and they're sizable where it can really help you build your balance sheet.
Yeah. So I think just looking at, I'm trying to find the deals, right? Number one, and put them together in a way that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be a big focus, as well as I think just being opportunistic. Like at the end of the day, I think that's the word that defines my strategy. Just looking for opportunity where opportunity,
You do some LP investing though too, right?
I've done some LP with passive investing crew, and love that before too long we'll get a deal together too. So I like to just put money with the people that make money. Yeah. So.
That's some of my favorite money, man. Like it's legitimately, I like operating because I just like being hands-on on a lot of stuff, to an extent. I don't like being in the weeds, but I like being hands-on. I like seeing the deal and talking visionary type stuff. But the reality is, man, my favorite money that I make, and I don't have a lot as an LP because we're we're not very good passive operators. You know what I mean? Like,
you are an operator.
I am an operator. So if I'm going to put money in something, I'm just going to put it in my own deals.
Totally.
And my team's managing it. I'm on the bank. Right? It's already my reputation on the line. So it's like I just throw money in my own deals. But I have a couple LP positions, and it's like, dude, it's nice to just have it
Sit
come
back
in.
a little bit.
Dude, it just hits, and it's not that much compared to everything else. But it's like there's a level of passivity to it. Passivity? Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
And dude, that just gets me excited. And it's like, you don't need a ton of money, right? I got one for $50,000. I got another one for $200,000. I got another one for like $150,000. So I don't think it's more than, I know it's not more than $1 million, but I think it's a little over $500,000 of just LP positions and other people's deals. And it's kind of nice. As long as they fucking play out, and as long as they pay, as long as they refinance me and get me my money back, that's a cool spot to be in. And so I think, for me, my pinnacle is like, how do you just be the bank, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about this and come full circle a couple times of like, if you control the money, you control the whole deal, right? Like finance is the industry that commands all other industries.
Yep.
So if you need to pivot, you have access to capital, but you need to pivot and go and buy businesses, you can totally do that. Or you can keep on buying real estate, or you can look at anything else. There's always value to you because you know how to go out and raise money and then deploy it into cash flowing assets. And if you can be the bank, I think that's like the pinnacle point to be in any investor's life, is like how much money can I deploy? Like there's an infinite level of scale to it as well,
Well, I'm so grateful to have started on the finance side. Right?
Yeah.
And I got some advice very, very early on when I was really trying to figure out where within the real estate world I wanted to put my efforts. And learning it from the finance side first, which is typically one of the more complicated parts of any sort of transaction, has been so amazing to develop my kind of full scope understanding of the industry. So, you get access to pretty much every part of the process through that, and working within the environment of a operator, fix and flip organization who manages multifamily as well and non-performing loans. It was incredible experience to build out the understanding that I have today.
Yeah, and I think, where do you start? Because I started on the operational side, not really I knew math, but I didn't really know the finance side. So it's like, listen, you can get to the same spot no matter which way you go, but people ask, hey, should I find the deal first or do I find the money first? Some people say you got to be doing both. Some people find the deal and the money will come. I'm a believer that you go find the money first.
Yeah.
If you have money, deals flow to you. You will have no problem finding opportunity to invest in. In fact, you're probably going to have, your bigger problem is going to have too much opportunity and having to say no to too many things. But if you have money, you tell people you have money, all the deals are going to start flowing to you.
Yeah.
So if you have an opportunity to go and raise capital and you can really command the financial side of things, that's where I would be focusing. So, cool, man. This has been an awesome conversation. I want to wrap up. I'm not done yet. We talked a little bit offline. You got the girl dad bracelet.
Yeah.
I got a girl on the way. Potentially already had her by the time this comes out and this airs. But tell me about, like, you come from a family of successful entrepreneurs, right? And I think, my dad was successful. He was kind of like more millionaire next door. Like just saved. Worth a few $1,000,000, and millionaire next door, saw the hard work, it gave me a boost up in order to take things kind of to the next level, right? One of my greatest concerns as, I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old and a new one on the way, is like, how do I instill these principles of achievement? How do I instill these, the appreciation, right, for like what you're born into and having the, really winning the friggin' lottery, right, by coming into a family that understands this stuff. Like, there's a lot worse lottery tickets out there than being born into your family or my family. Like, how has your parents instilled some of those values in you, and how are you then instilling that into your kids?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's not one that I think I have a straight answer for. I think it's a very nuanced thing, but I think I was just raised in a family that was just full of love, and my dad had always been, very entrepreneurial, right? Was always, I think, just like the word I use for myself is opportunistic.
Yeah.
The guy is just an opportunistic guy, like to his core.
Yeah. Got that from him when I was talking with him.
Yeah, I mean, he,
actually,
sitting right at the table, actually. He, didn't have a ton of real estate experience outside of spec builds. So he'd done a bunch of spec builds and some commercial developments. Built a large yacht club up in Massachusetts. But he started this whole NPL company, right? Buying non-performing loans at the kind of the peak of the worst of the worst, 2008, 2009, 2010. And so he just figured it out. I mean, he went in there with just this entrepreneurial mindset, just knowing that there's opportunity and he's going to figure out how to find it.
And you are not necessarily listening to what he says, maybe listening to what he says, but more importantly, watching what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's leading by example.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I've always looked up to, always look up to, and I think will always ask him questions and always pick his brain, because the wealth of knowledge that he's developed just by figuring it out, right? It wasn't given to him, he just figured it out.
Yep.
So I think having those principles instilled in a very early age is something I'm going to do with my children. You know, we've got a daughter and got a baby boy on the way due in January.
Yeah,
so,
congrats.
Thank you. So we're family's growing, and I think my daughter's 19 months now. So we're at that point now where we're trying to figure out how to instill those values in her as she starts to be able to absorb and actually turn that into her personality.
And I think that's one of those things, like, you read all this where they're a sponge, right? Like, the personality's designed and essentially embedded in them by the time they're 5 years old or something, right? And like 90% of the personality is in place, and you can only tweak a little bit of it past 5 years old. And so at this stage where they're the most influenced or the most, sponge-like in the knowledge and stuff, it's like, now's the time that they need to be able to see you loving on them, showing them hard work, showing them resourcefulness, and asking them those kinds of questions, engaging with them on a lot of that stuff. I think that's such a key thing to do. Reading with them.
Yep.
Yeah, man. In my world, it's just like they duplicate everything that we do.
Yeah.
So if you want to do, you got to be Buddha, right? Or what was it? Was it Buddha, or who am I thinking of? You got to be the change you want to see in the world. Come on, I think it's Buddha, right? Who's the other one? Gandhi. That's who it was. That's who it was.
There you
Gandhi.
go. Yeah.
Gandhi said, right, dude, you got to represent what you stand for, what you want your kids to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can tell them, but if you act in a different way, that's what they think is going to be. And so your dad kind of led the charge. You were able to see him as a great role model, and I just kind of ask myself, like, am I being the role model that I want my kids to have?
Yeah.
And I think that holds you to a certain standard of doing the right thing all the time, right? Not only because it's the right thing to do, but like, it's just doing the right thing, working hard, paying attention, loving on them, hugging on them, showing up, playing with them, and not necessarily giving them money, but teaching them why things work, right? Teaching them why we do what we do, and that, like your dad instilling that knowledge into you, it's going to be passed down generations way more importantly than passing down money to you.
Absolutely. I will say, I think I have learned how to be a dad, and I think a lot of the really important values that I think I've been able to develop, I've developed, frankly, through business, right? And working with Civic, like, I've had to become a leader, right? I wasn't a leader when we started, but had to turn into one as we grew a team and built a company and a culture. One of the most valuable exercises that I think we've gone through as an organization with our executive team was sitting in a room, and it took about a year, but it took us a year to put together our core values, our core purpose. What is it that we believe in as a group? What do we want to do? And so we came up with a set of core values. We call it our ABCs. It's act with honor, be a great partner, communicate clearly, create smiles, and simplify. ABCCS. And so it's something that I have working on with our family, like having core values that you live to every single day. You coach to that, you live to that, right? When something isn't going right, you point back to it as something, as a guiding light. And it's something that we're working on inside of our family now, because it helps. In a lot of tough times in coaching, it's like, you did this, right? That's probably not the right thing. What if you look back at the core values, what does that tell you to do? How would you have done that differently? And I've used that in hiring and firing, in everything throughout the business life cycle that we've had. So I've learned an immense amount of, I think, how to be a better person, how to be a better leader, how to be a better father through business.
Dude, I love that. And I think you make a profound point of like, we have it in business. Why don't we have it for our own home?
Yeah.
You know, like religion has it in the 10 Commandments, right? And here's the things that you do, here's the things that you don't do. We need to have those in our own household. Like, here's how we act, here's what we believe in, and sitting down with the family, right? And having the kids give the input, and have the kids, hey, what do we believe? You know, what do we want to do? Well, hey, gratitude is really important. Let's make sure that we're thankful all the time, and we're, you know, being a leader, or being brave, even though we're fearful or we're scared of something, you can still be scared, but you can be brave, right? And do it anyways. You know, like those are some of the things, some of the principles that we talk about. And it's kind of like in our prayers at nighttime, and like we instill it that way. And then, but I need to like put it up on the wall and say, hey, family values.
We're
you know
working
what I mean?
on that.
I need to like really formalize it. We say it every single night before bed, but yeah, I think that's important stuff, man. And I love that you're doing that, and I love that you're conveying that to the kids. And you know, I think us just having this conversation shows that our kids are going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, it shows that we actually give a shit enough to even consider it, which means we're good enough parents that they're going to turn out all right. You know, there's most parents, not most, but there's a lot of parents who don't even think about this stuff. They don't care about this stuff, and that's where society, I think, fails. And how do we help them out?
Well, I can tell it's all that you think about. It's all that I think about, right? And how I can be better in business and as a husband, as a father, like in life. And so, you know, we're all a work in progress. And
I love it, man.
You just got to figure out a way to be better every day.
Dude, well, I appreciate you. I appreciate the friendship. I appreciate you being here.
Likewise.
And just excited to keep on watching your journey and working together on some stuff, building some wealth together.
Absolutely.
And building some amazing families together.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
You too.
Thanks so much.
Hey, hopefully you guys got a ton of value out of that. Whit's such a good dude, family man. I like that we were able to spend a little bit of time on that stuff too. I don't think we talk enough about that as entrepreneurs. So make sure you're connected with him on social media. Hit up Civic Financial, go and send some business their way, or if you're looking for either short-term loans or long-term buy and hold type of loans, they're a great option for you. So go and hit up Whit and connect with him. And as always, please like the video, subscribe, put your comments in the section below. Give me some of your biggest takeaways. I love seeing that stuff. I love getting the feedback. And if you know somebody who would get some value out of this, please share the video with them. So until next time, I'll see you guys on Spill the Beans.